Biggun YouTube live stream. Today is Saturday, February 7th, 2026. As usual, we'll give it a few minutes for people to join, and then we'll get started. All right, we have some people joining now. We'll give it another minute or so. We had a great stream on Wednesday night for those who missed it. I always encourage arguments as long as they're civil and friendly so that we can hear each other's point of view. And that's exactly what we had on Wednesday night. We had various conversations about multiple topics, and everybody had different point of views, and they did a great job of expressing their point of view without being nasty or flaming, and that's what we encourage. That's why we do this live stream. We do this to express our opinions, share our thoughts, and we're all family here, so as long as we all get along, I'm okay with that. Well, as I mentioned a week or so ago about Virginia, well, the House passed a whole bunch of anti-gun bills. Basically, it's going to be illegal for people in Virginia to carry and own almost anything. And this is why, again, I can't stress enough, go to your state's website, find out what bills are being presented, write your representative, tell them that you're either for or against them, depending on what the bill is, and speak your mind. You can't sit back and do nothing and then bitch and moan when they attack your gun rights. It's our responsibility as gun owners to go out there and fight for our Second Amendment rights every day. Hey, Duke, what's up, brother? The ironic thing is that what I still don't understand is why is the Second Amendment the only amendment that requires a permit? You don't need a permit for freedom of speech, but the Second Amendment requires permits. I don't understand how that possibly could be. I agree with you, Pacific Atlantic North. California, unfortunately, all those liberal states do whatever they want to do. And what's up there, Kravnik? And this is why we need national reciprocity. The Second Amendment shouldn't end at your state's border, and individual states or counties shouldn't be able to make up their own gun laws. But that's what we have happening today. The liberal states make up their own rules. And this should be done on a federal level. It should have been done 50 years ago. Federal law should be trumping state law. But apparently It doesn't matter uh, what it says about our Second Amendment, it gets violated every day. Another reason why we need to have national reciprocity. Yesterday, an offensive lineman from the Green Bay Packers, Rasheed Wallace, was arrested at LaGuardia Airport. He was checking in a firearm, and he did everything right. He had the firearm in a locked box, and he told the girl at the counter, I'm checking in a firearm, and he had a Glock 19 and two magazines. The gun was unloaded, and he had it in a lockbox, and he told her that. And she called the Port Authority police. They came and arrested him, and he's being charged with a felony weapon charge for carrying a firearm in New York City. Now, first of all, there's a difference between transporting a firearm and carrying a firearm. And Yoli Flores, hello to you. Thanks for joining. Well, I'll tell you why it should be federal and not state rights. You have a driver's license for your car, right? You could drive in every state in the country. And driving is a privilege, it is not a right. The right to keep and bear arms is a right, not a privilege. You should be able to carry your firearm in any state. Anyway, so Rasheed Wallace did exactly what he was supposed to do. He had his firearm in a lockbox, and he's arrested and charged with felony gun possession. Now, he was transporting, he wasn't carrying. And it's perfectly legal to check a firearm in as long as it's in a lockbox. And the problem with this is that he did nothing wrong. Now, what about people that shoot competitively? How do they get their firearms from one match to another? Now, I'm sure this is going to get thrown out, but the point of the matter is the guy had to spend time at the police station, he had to get a lawyer, all of this nonsense. And again, he was transporting a firearm. Now, there's a huge difference between walking through an airport carrying a firearm and having your firearm in a lockbox. And he told the person that I have a firearm in a lockbox in my bag. So, again, this is why we need to have national reciprocity. That just should have never happened. And yeah, the guy's an athlete. He's got the money, but that could have been you or I. I mean, how does somebody that shoot competitive all over the country transport their firearms? Um, well, hey, Mike, what's up, brother? Okay, so yeah, you had a 10-year-old who was shot in road rage incident 3 days ago in Texas. Um, okay, it's unfortunate, but how many people get shot in New York City? Come on, bro. You can't tell me um, with all the gang related shooting they have in New York that it's safe. I mean, to make a statement like that is almost silly. Um, People get shot in New York City every day. I don't see what that has to do with um, somebody legally checking in a firearm on an airline. I think you're missing the point there, uh, Damien. Uh, there's going to be shootings everywhere. But you can't tell me New York City doesn't have a problem with shootings. People get shot in New York every day. No, I'm not saying only gang members are getting shot in the hood. You're missing the whole damn point. The point is, innocent people get shot and killed in New York every day. So don't be telling me they don't have that problem in New York City. Now, you see, on Wednesday night, we had a lot of discussions like this, and it's great. It's good to hear other people's point of views, and nobody got nasty. We even had some liberals on the stream, and that's fine too. People, that's the great thing about this country. You're allowed to believe, worship, and vote for whoever you want, and as long as you're respectful about it, I'm okay with that. I don't care. I don't care what party you belong to. This is a pro gun channel. And as long as we can keep it firearm and Second Amendment related, I'm all up for everybody's point of view. And Ted, how you doing there, brother? I don't understand what your point is here, um, Dan Mechanic. I think you're just splitting hairs. And I still don't understand what that had to do with a person legally transporting a firearm. I was at the local Rural King today. Um, I take my dog there. Um, it's his favorite store, and I love Rural King because they have everything from guns to dog food, etc. And they were having a clearance today, and they had a Glock 17 Gen 4 for $499. And if I wasn't anti-Glock like I am now because they sold out, I probably would have bought it. Um, I think it's even worth having it at that price just as a collectible. Um, and then, you know, like I said, I won't buy another 9mm, which is another reason I didn't buy it. However, I do love my 10s and my 45s. So while I was there, I was looking at the Taurus 10mm, and it was $440. And I was intrigued by it because uh, it's also hammer fired. So I asked the guy if I could check out the gun. So he handed it to me, and it felt good in my hand, to be honest with you. But the thing I didn't like about it is the hammer felt like plastic, and I'm not so sure that Taurus 10mm is going to hold up to the pounding that a 10mm will do. I don't understand why it even needs to be an argument, Dan Mechanic. Everything doesn't have to be a pissing contest. I have a Glock 20. I have a Glock 21. Anyway, so I've been looking for another 10mm, and even though I always say I'm not a fan of the Smith & Wesson triggers, I did look at the Smith & Wesson M&P 10mm, and they must have made an improvement because I got to tell you, that trigger really wasn't bad. And I think I'm probably going to get that. That'll probably be my next 10mm. I have a SIG 10mm. I have a Springfield Ronin 1911 10 millimeter. I have my Glock 20. I have my Glock 29. Um, so I just wanted another 10 millimeter, and uh, it's not just the price. Um, that Taurus 10 millimeter, while it was tempting at 400 and something bucks, um, for $150 more, I could get the Smith & Wesson M&P, which is well worth $150 more. But like I said, I know I say a lot of times I'm not a fan of the trigger on the Smith & Wessons, but I got to tell you, the M&P 2.0 10 millimeter trigger feels pretty nice. It's available in black for $570, and the flat dark earth is around $617, something like that. I'm probably gonna go with the flat dark earth. The Sig P365 is an awesome gun. It's probably one of the best guns Sig Sauer has ever made. I agree, Mike. Especially now that you got the 10 millimeter, I would definitely start reloading. Now, for those who do reload, I'm just going to share my experience with primers. My local Bass Pro had a sale. Actually, it's not even on sale. It's the same price every day. Their Winchester large and small pistol primers are $49.99 a thousand, which is pretty damn reasonable. I also bought a box of 1,000 CCI, and they're very good. However, one thing I want to warn is that during the pandemic, when you couldn't get stuff, I had a hard time finding primers. So I bought these Tulamo primers. They're Russian, and I don't know whether they're too hard or what, but on every gun I fired them on, I had a huge failure. Apparently, it wasn't denting the primer enough to make it go off. So I would not recommend those. Come on, Ted. You never need an excuse to buy another gun. I just bought that Henry Big Boy. It was almost $1,000, so I have to start saving my coinage, and then when I get enough coinage, I will buy that Smith & Wesson M&P 2.0 10 millimeter. Again, I always criticize the trigger on the Smith & Wesson, but they seem to have improved it on that because the trigger was pretty damn good. Or maybe the trigger is just different on the 10 millimeter than it is on the 9, but I liked it a lot. What's $1,200, Ted? The Ruger? Guns are an investment. That's a great question, Pacific. Yes, I do think the new Smith & Wesson revolvers are reliable. As with anything, if you look hard enough, you're going to find people that bitch. People said the same thing about the Colt. And I love my Colt Python. I bought my Smith & Wesson 686 about a year ago. I've shot thousands of rounds through it, not a single problem. However, I think what a lot of people complain about on the new Smith & Wessons is the key lock, which, and hello, Michael. I'm not a fan of the key lock. It looks like a horse's ass, but it doesn't. It doesn't hinder the operation. I know this is a long-winded answer, but to make a long story short, I would have no qualms about buying a brand new Smith and Wesson. That's a good question, Mike. The 10 millimeter uses large pistol primers. Believe it or not, the 357 Magnum uses small pistol primers. Now, one thing to warn you on, Michael, if you start getting into reloading, especially on the big calibers like 45 and 10 millimeter, when you buy ammo and you buy brass, you need to be very careful. Some manufacturers like Blaze, and I have no problem with Blaze ammo. It works perfectly fine. But I noticed what Blaze was doing on 45 and 10 millimeter brass is they're using small pistol primers on those. And it's fine. It works perfectly normal. But you need to keep that in mind when you're reloading and separate it. I wasn't... Cool Stingray, this is an open forum every time. We discuss whatever people want to discuss, as long as it's firearms related and Second Amendment related. But so that's one thing you need to keep in mind, Mike. When I was reloading a bunch of 10 millimeter, I was wondering why I was having a hard time with some of the cases loading primers. And as it turns out, some of the brass cases I had were small pocket. And if you're buying brass for reloading, you need to make sure that you look for large pistol primer. I'll be honest with you. With Taurus revolvers, I have a Taurus 65. I have a bunch of Taurus revolvers. Taurus revolvers, in my opinion, are fantastic for the money. I put thousands of rounds through my Taurus revolvers. Never had a problem. Their semi-automatics, they're hit and miss. But the Taurus revolvers are very well made. Again, we have a bunch of new people on the stream today, so welcome all of you. If I missed giving you a shout out, it's because these comments go by very quickly. We do these live streams every Wednesday evening at 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern and every Saturday at 12 noon Eastern. And we do this because you guys asked for it. And basically, we talk gun stuff. You can ask questions. You can make comments about firearms you like or don't like. Yeah, the only problem I have with Taurus is that their customer service absolutely sucks. And if you get a bad one, it's a freaking nightmare going through. Every gun store, I don't know what you are asking me, Inda Permano. I don't know what you're asking me about. Every gun store could do modified pistol or not. I don't know what you mean. If you want to rephrase that, I'll try to answer your question. That's a great question, Joey. The EAA revolvers are very good, actually. The EAA Witness, the Windicator, they're owned by Gerson, too, by the way. I have no problem with those. But again, you got to keep in mind for the Taurus, you got to keep in mind you know, what you're paying for, right? Um, you're not paying $900 like you're going to pay for a Smith and Wesson. You're not paying $1,500 that you're paying for a Colt. So you can't expect that kind of quality. But for the money, they're not bad. And Three Destroy. I used to have a judge. Um, I had the public defender, and I got rid of it only because it was too damn expensive to shoot. Um, that 45 Colt ammo is expensive. And honestly, that 410 shotgun shell is really more of a fad. Um, I wouldn't call that 410 shotgun shell a man stopper. It's a great novelty gun, but it wouldn't be my choice for personal protection. But that is the great thing about guns, right? There's one for everybody. We all have our likes and dislikes, and y'all are entitled to your opinion, just like I'm entitled to mine. And we can voice our opinions as long as it doesn't get personal and nasty. I've learned a lot from you guys listening to your point of views. Some of the things I've even changed my point of view on after listening to you guys. So that's a great question, Destroy. I'll tell you why. It's because I'm old. I'm old school. I'll get right to you, Joey. In my mind, a 1911 is a 45 ACP. 9mm in 1911 to me is sacrilegious. And I'm also not a fan of double stack. That's my opinion. If I was maybe 30 years younger, I would think that 2011 is cool. But to me, if I'm going to get a 1911, it is a 7 or 8 round single stack 45 ACP. Joey, I'm glad you love your PT 1911. Not to get your panties all in a bunch, but the PT series was the worst series that Taurus ever came out with. Hey, Jib Jab, brother, welcome. Glad to have you. I'll get right to you, Ted. That PT series was the worst series Taurus ever manufactured. I had a PT 24/7. It was a piece of crap. And because they had so many problems, they discontinued the entire PT line. So that should tell you something. And yes, Ted, I have a 1911 and 10mm. I have the Springfield Ronin. I'm okay with a 10mm. I'm okay with a 45. But to me, a 1911 and 9mm is just sacrilegious. Hope you're doing well there, Jib Jab. I appreciate your like on my photo the other day. I think I'm going to use that as an intro for all of my firearm reviews. I got some stuff to review today. Not that I need more knives, but I apparently have a knife addiction as well. So I have a couple knives I'll be reviewing. One thing I want to ask y'all is, how many of you dry fire? And if you don't, why not? I appreciate that, Jib Jab. And I appreciate your support. I do get a lot of people. I do get a lot of people that flame me and bitch and moan and cry and complain. But I do my best to try to keep this real. And anyway, the reason I'm asking is because I'm a huge proponent on dry fire training. If you watch my videos, I've done a lot of them. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do so. But the reason I'm asking is because if you dry fire train, and I'm going to put this in the link, I'm going to put this in the chat. I put a link in the chat for the dry fire mag. And if you dry fire train and you keep racking your slide, that's just non-productive. In the real world, you're not going to rack your slide every time you fire. That is just silly. And the dry fire mag is ingenious. You use your own trigger and you do not have to rack the slide. It automatically resets the trigger for you, and it makes dry fire training real. Six Lario, subscribe to my channel. I think I have 850 videos out there now. There's a lot of videos I have out there for new shooters and dry fire training. And those who are dry fire training, kudos to you. I don't need to tell you. Dry fire training is where you do most of your heavy lifting. All the quality training you do is dry fire training. All you're doing at the range is validating that your training is working by putting holes in a piece of paper. But again, I put the link in the description. Check it out. There's nothing like it. I mean, I dry fire train every day. And I use the dry fire mag because in the real world, you're not going to rack your slide every time you pull the trigger. It's just silly. It's non-productive. It takes you out of your rhythm. And when you have to rack the slide, there's no way you could dry fire practice and shoot consecutive follow-up shots. Like, how are you going to shoot 3, 4, 5 shots in a row? Well, check out that link to the dry fire mag. If you're not using one of those, you'll see what you're missing. It'll definitely improve your dry fire training and skills. I can't stress enough how important dry fire training is. I also like laser targets. They're a lot of fun. But the nice thing about that dry fire mag is that it's available with or without laser. So that changes everything. I got the dry fire mag with the laser. So I can use that with Mantis Laser Academy, and I don't have to rack the slide every time. Well, that's my point, Mike. Having to rack the slide is just such a pain in the ass. And with the dry fire mag, if you get the dry fire mag with laser, you just keep pulling the trigger. I'll get right to you, Jib Jab. That's a great question. You could use it with Mantis Laser Academy. Before using that, I'm using Mantis Laser Academy and racking the slide every time. And I'm like, how stupid is this? You're not going to train that way. Again, if you're not dry fire training, you really, really need to consider it because there's a lot of things you can do when you dry fire train at home that you can't do at the range. I'll answer your question first, Jib Jab, and then I'll continue. Yes, a blowback gun. I bought a Glock 17 air pistol from Umarex, and Glock licensed that gun to Umarex. If you put it side by side to a Glock 17, you can't tell the difference. The same size, weight, and everything. So if somebody was using that Glock air pistol and was doing something stupid with it, it would easily be mistaken as a real firearm, and they can get shot. But Jib Jab, what I will recommend is do a search on Umerex, Umerex, I believe. I've done a few reviews on those Umerex air pistols, and yeah, what's nice about it is, even though it's not the same as shooting a 9mm, you do still get a little bit of recoil, so it makes it a little bit more realistic. But again, back to dry fire training. There are some things that you just can't do at a range. Some ranges don't allow you to draw from a holster and fire. Some ranges don't allow you to move forward and backward or laterally. A lot of drills you can practice that I do when I dry fire train is I practice sweeping a room. I practice training in low light and no light, simulating if I'm in my home and there's an intruder and it's dark. Dry fire training is invaluable. Everybody that shoots competitively dry fire trains. Hey, what's up, Jason? Welcome. And the most important thing about dry fire training is muscle memory. You just get it ingrained in you. Now, if you haven't done any dry fire training, snap caps are also very good. They're dummy rounds that don't have a primer. They don't have any gunpowder. They don't shoot. They're completely safe and they're quiet. And you could do a lot of practicing with them too. You could practice stovepipes or mag failures. They're great for practicing magazine changes. Sometimes what I'll also do when I go to the range, I'll put a dummy round in my magazine before going to the range. So when I go to the range, I won't remember where it is. And then when I'm shooting, I'll get the bang, bang, click. And you could do the tap and rack and practice a misfire. They're invaluable as well. And if you search my YouTube channel on dummy rounds, I've done reviews on them as well. I have, to answer your question, Ted, I did a review on snap point dummy rounds. Those will never wear out, brother. Those are made with real 115 grain lead projectiles. So those give you the exact weight that your magazine will have. I mean, it doesn't get any more realistic than that. I haven't really had a problem with the aluminum snap caps. Some of the cheap ones made in China, they're plastic and they will break and crack over time. But I'm hoping that some of you people that don't dry fire train will start because I got to tell you, you dry fire train for a week or two, and you will, I guarantee you, you will absolutely see a noticeable improvement in your shooting skills. And that link I put in the chat for the dry fire mag, I guarantee you, if you use that for a week, when you go to the range, you'll shoot better. Your technique will be better. Everything you do will be better. I can guarantee you that because I've been using it for a year now. And my shooting skills have dramatically increased. I also use the Mantis Laser Academy and Mantis X. Again, I see a whole bunch of new people on here today, and I'm grateful for you guys for joining. I really appreciate that. If you haven't done so, please hit that subscribe button. watch and like and share our videos. We have over 850 videos now, and we're a small channel. So the firearms we buy them uh, with the revenue we receive on YouTube. And that revenue is based on how many videos are watched, shared, liked, commented. When you like and watch and share and comment on our video, it gets pushed out to more people. Oh, gee, I'll get to you in 1 second. And that will allow us to buy more firearms to review for you guys. Again, I want to thank all of our subscribers and supporters. And I know a lot of you people have been purchasing the Super Chat stickers, and we're gratefully appreciative of that as well. All of your contributions is what paid for that Henry Big Boy. So I thank all of you. I love you guys for that. Ozzy Yakurik, perfect everyday carry. Now, that's a tough question because there's a lot of them. And Jungle Marine, thank you. I appreciate that. I guess it depends where. I have different guns I carry depending on what I'm doing. And I got to tell you, and it's funny, I just said to my wife today when I came back from the dog park that this Savage Stance is still the most perfect deep concealed carry gun. That Savage Stance replaced. I used to carry my Hellcat Pro if I really needed to conceal, but that Savage Stance, man, I got to tell you, you don't even know it's there. You can't see it. I carry it to work every day because nobody knows it's there. It's a little smaller than I'd like to have. I don't know what you're asking, Jordan, and I'm going to let this go for a minute. Oh, that's a tough question there, Ted. I I don't know about if I could only have one. No, I can't only have one. Maybe one in every caliber. Also, again, depending on what I'm doing, like if I'm going fishing, I'll carry one of my cheaper guns like my Taurus G3C or my Palmetto Dagger, because if I drop it in the lake, I'm not going to cry that I lost a $200 gun. I'm going to cry that I lost a $1,000 gun. So, based on that, when I go, okay, you know what, OG, I'm going to make this real easy for you. You want a reasonably priced gun that's a great carry gun, great quality gun overall. I highly recommend the Ruger RXM. It's about $400. It is compatible with the Glock 19 Gen 3 technology. I'd put that up against my Glock 19 any day. And for $400, I'll say it over and over again, that is by far the best quality 9mm pistol you're going to buy. The grip is outstanding. The grip is made by Magpul. The grip is available full size, compact, and subcompact. It's optic ready. Comes with a tritium front night sight. Uses Glock magazines. Uses Glock holsters. And it's only $400. Made in the USA by Ruger. Lifetime warranty. As a pistol instructor, I used to always have new shooters say to me, what's a good gun to buy for a first-time gun owner? And I always used to say Glock 19. But after Ruger sold out Uh, I no longer will buy I mean, I'm sorry. After Glock sold out, I will no longer buy a Glock or recommend the Glock. Uh, and in my opinion, again, that Ruger RXM for $400, there's nothing in the price range that's going to beat that. And trust me, I own every gun in every price range. Um, and I'll put that against my Glock 19 any day. I just think that Catherine Glock is going to manage that company into the ground. Um, I don't like that they discontinued all their guns except for three, and then they recreated them as a V series, and now they rebrand them again as a Gen 6. I had enough of that bullshit. Um, I think after he died and his wife Catherine took over the company, I just think she's going to manage that company into the ground. You're coming out with a Gen 6 Glock, then you should really have made it modular like everybody else did. You know what, Jib Jab? The Glock 19 was suggested only because of its reliability. It'll eat anything, anything. I have never, ever, I probably put 50,000 rounds through my Glock 19. I have never had a jam with it. But yes, the triggers are horrible. And the Glock sights are crap. That's always been my pet peeve with a Glock is that you're spending $500 or $600 on a gun, and they're giving you plastic sights. And the first thing I do every time I get a Glock is I take those crappy plastic sights off, and I put True Glow night sights on. I don't mess with the triggers on my gun only because I'm old school and, you know, I own a lot of Glocks and the triggers are horrible, but they're horrible on all of them. So every Glock that I shoot feels the same. And Jaylan, I don't want to burst your bubble or nothing. I think the XD series is the worst product line Springfield ever put out. And I love Springfield. I love my Echelon. I love my Hellcat. I love my Ronin. I love my Emissary. But I got to tell you, that XD series was not their best work. They feel like cheap plastic. I mean, if it works for you, that's great. In my opinion, though, it's not their best work. And Daniel, Glocks were good guns, but they discontinued all of them but three and recreated them as a V series and now Gen 6. I would not say that a Glock is a great gun anymore. You can't go wrong with that Jib Jab. That's a good gun. And the CZ is an awesome gun. You know, Glock did set the gold standard, and they did set the bar for polymer frame striker-fired guns. But over the years, there's been a lot of guns. You know, it was at one point, it was like, you know, if you don't buy a Glock, you're buying a piece of crap, right? But there's a lot of guns now. Glock's not the only gun that goes bang every time. It's not the only gun that's reliable. And I'll put a lot of guns up against my Glock. My Ruger RXM, my Springfield Echelon, my Springfield Hellcat Pro, my wife's Smith & Wesson Equalizer, my Savage Stance. I could go on all day long. You know, a lot of guns have improved over the years. 6.8. I'm going to give you my honest opinion. I own 3 SIG P320s. I like the 9mm so much. I bought it in 45 ACP, and I bought it in 10mm. I bought the X10 Comp, and I love my P320s. And I'm sorry, all of this nonsense about negligent discharges, to me, I think is operator error. Guns don't just go off unless you're Alec Baldwin. I appendix carry my SIGs. I still have both of my testicles. Um, I don't know. I've been carrying them for years. And I'm confident that they're not going to go off. Keep your damn finger off your trigger, number one. I think another thing that makes people have negligent discharges is that for some reason people are compelled to have weapon lights on a gun, which in my opinion is stupid. And when you have a weapon light on a gun, now you need a bigger holster, right? Well, now with a bigger holster, now you got more crap that can get in the trigger guard. I also notice a lot of those SIG episodes are with law enforcement. And I can't tell you how many times, I'm a pistol instructor, and in my opinion, law enforcement are the worst shooters I've ever seen. If you look at the FBI statistics, law enforcement only hits their target 30% of the time. That's why they shoot somebody and they have 6 officers firing 30 rounds and they hit the guy 4 times because they can't shoot and they can't hit their target. And I would bet you any money that most of those problems with the SIG P320 are from holstering and unholstering the firearm, and they don't have the correct holster, they don't have a correct gun belt, and more importantly, they don't have trigger discipline. I was at a gun range once, and I wasn't teaching the class, but every time I'm at the range, I do observe people. And there was a woman shooting next to me, and she had a jam like every other time. And I asked her if I could look at her gun. I took the slide off, and it was all freaking boogered up. And turns out she's a sheriff's officer. And you're welcome, 6'8". And I asked her, when was the last time you cleaned that gun? She said, I don't know, 3 years ago? Oh, come on, dude. You carrying a gun, that's your livelihood. You clean it every 3 years, really? I mean, I used to be under the impression that, cops love to shoot, etc. But one of my best friends who lives in Texas is a cop, retired. And we were talking about that one day when I was staying at his house. And he said, you keep assuming that cops love guns. They're just tools. We're not all gun nuts. And it never occurred to me that he was correct. I made the assumption that because they carry a gun every day, that they love firearms. But, they should be given classes to learn how to clean their gun. I mean, they should have an inspection. Even if it's once a month, their superior should check their firearm, make sure it's oiled and cleaned, etc. They qualify once a year. I mean, Christ, I qualify once a month just to maintain my certifications. But, again, that's the same thing with why I love having this stream with you guys. This is how we learn from each other, right? And I learned that, all cops are not gun nuts. Some of them don't care. It's just a tool. Now, one thing I want to say about the And I'm not trying to hurt people's feelings. And, I'm originally from Jersey, so I could be a little brash. And I can't help that. I think it's moronic that people have weapon lights. When I go on to some of these gun forums, seems to be a thing. Everybody wants to be the cool kid in school. And people have these weapon lights that are the size of freaking baseball bats. It just looks retarded. And one thing you got to keep in mind, the minute you add a light to your firearm, that light now becomes an extension of your firearm. Now, home defense is a totally different story. I have one on my Glock 20 for home defense. And you probably should have one. It's not a bad idea. But to have a weapon light on a carry gun, I just think is moronic. You're walking in a dark alley, you hear a commotion, and now you're pointing a loaded firearm at somebody, and, you could give somebody a heart attack. They're going to call the police and say, some lunatic just pointed a gun at me. My wife and I were out one night, and we were with friends that one of them is ex-law enforcement. And it was very dark out. And he took out his SIG P365 to use the weapon light to light up the parking lot. And I was like, seriously, dude? You should know better than that. And I took out my 1,000 lumen flashlight and I used that. Now, two things, okay? You have a light mounted to your firearm. They know where you are, right? Because the light is at them. But if you carry a handheld, you can move the light around. They don't know where the light is, right? As opposed to doing that, now they know where you are and you're a target. But with a handheld, you can move it around, and if you need to, you could drop the damn light. I just, I don't think people understand that the light is an extension of their firearm. And if you're pointing that light at someone, you're pointing a firearm at someone, which is illegal, and you're brandishing. So, I can't stress enough. If you have a light on your everyday carry, I would get rid of it and use a flashlight. Again, like I said, you can change and move it around so they can't see where you are exactly. If you need to light up an area, you can throw it. Or if it's hindering you from firing, just drop the damn light. But I'm not a fan of pointing a loaded gun at people. Yes, that's exactly true, Jib Jab. And that's a great choice there, 6-8 special. Great choice. Again, I see a bunch of more new people here. If you haven't done so, please hit that subscribe button. I'd appreciate it. We do these live streams every Wednesday evening at 8 o'clock Eastern and every Saturday at 12 noon Eastern. Also, if you haven't done so, subscribe to our channel. And we have a store there. You can get these really cool Pro Gun coffee mugs and Pro Gun t-shirts. We don't make any money off them. The temperature here, it's still a little cold here, Duke. It's about 35 degrees today, but it's going to be in the 50s for the next 2 weeks. Believe it or not, last week we had about 10 inches of snow, and we had 2 or 3 days where it was 7 degrees at night. So, and I'm really surprised at how cold it got. Oh, Bonzinger. Oh, dude, I would definitely be leaving New York. I mean, we lived in New Jersey. My wife and I both grew up there. We lived there for, you know, over 50 years. And then when Governor Free Stuff destroyed that state, we moved to the great state of Tennessee 7 years ago. And I haven't looked back. My wife's got her kids there and family there, so she goes back and forth a lot. Uh, Unless my parents pass away, I will not go back to New Jersey. I enjoy my rights here. I'm not going backwards. If I can't carry my firearm, I'm not going. Um, and I just don't like anything about that state anymore. So uh, I do miss the friends I left behind, but there's really nothing that's an incentive to make me go back. But it will be in it will be in the 50s here um, for the next couple of weeks. I wanted to go take my Henry Big Boy to an outdoor range. When I first got it, I had to take it to the indoor range. Uh, then one ninja. No, I am not. I am not a service member. Yeah, it does get cold in East Tennessee, but fortunately, um, you'll get snow today and tomorrow will be 45 degrees. It'll be all gone. Um, but yeah, last week we had 8 to 10 inches of snow here. Um, and it's funny because when we left New Jersey, we left the snowblower behind, we left the shovels behind. We're like, I'm not gonna have to do this crap anymore. Wrong. All right, doing a time check. We got about 10 minutes left. So if anybody has anything they want to discuss or any comments they want to make, feel free to do it now because we will end in 10 minutes. Again, for the new people here, we do these streams every Wednesday evening, 8 o'clock Eastern, every Saturday at 12 noon. And if you haven't done so, please hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and like I mentioned earlier, if you're not dry fire training, I've done a whole bunch of videos on dry fire training. Definitely recommend you watch them. If you want to improve your shooting skills immediately, I would watch them. And also in the chat, I did leave a link to the dry fire mag. OZ, I do deal with everything, handguns and rifles and shotguns. Primarily, I prefer handguns, but I do own rifles and shotguns. I just purchased a rifle. I bought a Henry lever action 357 Magnum carbine. Thanks to all of my subscribers on YouTube. You all help pay for that. So I appreciate that. I have a Smith & Wesson folding pistol carbine, 9mm. I have a Remington 308 bolt action. I have a bunch of shotguns, but I got a lot of handguns. I definitely got a lot more handguns than anything else. I built AR-15s, 300 blackouts. That's a great question, Jib Jab. I think one of the most common habits I see with my students are two things. They have poor trigger discipline. They tend to do this until after the class. And I think the biggest habit they have is they're competitive. And when you take a gun class, you train at your speed. Speed will come. And you should worry about how you shoot, not trying to outshoot your buddy. And, if somebody's getting off 4 or 5 shots. That's their speed. You shoot at the speed you're comfortable with. Um, I ride a motorcycle, and we have the saying, don't ride faster than your guardian angel could fly. Um, it's the same thing. One of the things that I highly recommend if you want to improve your shooting is a shot timer. I've just done a review on them. I reviewed a few of them. I use a shot timer for a lot of things. Not only consecutive shots, but you could use it for any task you want. I like using it for mag changes. And I'm thinking of doing a video on that because I have a lot of new shooters are always asking me to do a training video. And as an instructor, when I observe people at the range, I see people do mag changes, but they don't do them in a tactical level. They just casually press the button, put it out, put it on the table. Okay. When you do a mag change in the real world, there's 2 reasons you're going to do a mag change. One is because you have to. It's because you ran out of ammo or you have a jam. And number 2 is because you want to. And the reason for that is you may have shot 4 or 5 rounds and you want to change the magazine to top off. Okay. I don't know about you, but in a gunfight, I'm changing my mag because I want to, not because I have to. And I never see anybody at the gun range practice mag changes that you would do in a defensive situation. I know magazines are expensive, but in the real world, you're going to drop that mag, you're going to take a new mag, put it in. You're not going to bend down and pick up a mag. Yeah, they may be 20, 30 bucks. Just leave the damn magazine. You're not going to drop a mag and take your eyes off your opponent to pick the magazine up. Just leave it there. I can't stress, out of all the dry fire training drills, one of the most important things people don't practice, and I know they're not good at it because I observe it, they don't practice mag changes. It's a very easy thing to practice, and you should practice. You should practice both. You should practice when you run out of ammo, and you should practice when you want to top off. But I can tell you from experience and observing people at the range don't practice in a manner that's conducive to defense. I'll give you another example. When I go to the range and I see people shoot, they take their time, they compensate, and they're all so worried about getting that one shot in the bullseye that everything else is all over the page. Now, when I shoot and I train, I only train for defensive purposes. My goal is center mass. I don't care if you get a group this big. I would rather you get a group this big than one in the center and 5 all over the place. So that's just me. Another thing I do when I teach students to shoot, I don't give them targets with the numbers on it at first. I use 8-ounce paper plates for new shooters for 2 reasons. Number 1, the goal is center mass, right? So if they hit that paper plate, they're hitting center mass. And I also know from teaching is that when you put a target up that's got the rings and the numbers in it, they start getting upset because they're not scoring what they want to score. And when you start getting frustrated in your shooting, you're just going to shoot worse and worse and worse. So I put up a paper plate, my goal is center mass. I also do drills with my students where, you close your eyes, open your eyes, and fire 2 shots. Bert Adams, welcome. Thank you for joining. Unfortunately, we will be ending this stream. We do this stream at 8 o'clock Eastern on Wednesdays and 12 noon Eastern on Saturdays. So we will be ending it soon. I will keep this going a little longer, being people are interested. But I noticed a long time ago when I had somebody taking my NRA basic pistol class, they were getting worse and worse. And it's because they were so concerned with getting the damn bullseye, or damn it, I scored a 7 instead of an 8. Don't worry about the numbers. You see, a lot of people that go to the gun range and they shoot, they're not shooting and they're not practicing for real world defense, which is center mass. Police shoot at center mass. That's how we're trained. I don't give a rat's ass where the bullets are on the paper plate. If you're hitting that paper plate, you did your job, okay? I also teach shooting low light and no light. I have a drill where I have them close their eyes, open their eyes, and take 2 shots. If you practice enough, if you close your eyes and you extend with your firearm and open your eyes, if you practice that enough, you will be on target every time. So my advice, if you're going to practice dry fire training or at the range, you really should practice for real world defensive shooting. These people, they take a half an hour, they spend too much time. When you're holding your firearm and you're holding your breath, right? You hold your breath for too long and you deprive your body of oxygen. Now you're going to start shaking. I can't stress enough. You should really be training for defensive shooting. Not worried about, bringing home a target that looks pretty. If I had a group like this down on the 7 on the target, I don't care. You did your job. You also don't get do-overs in defensive shooting. I see people that, they use good old Kentucky windage. They'll shoot one and they'll screw around and move around. Don't know do-overs in the real world. You take your shot and see where it's going to go. And that's how you should be dry fire training. And when you go to the range, you should be shooting just like you are in the real world situation. And, train, and train. If you're not dry fire training, you should be. And if you are, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. And if you are, and you're not using the dry fire mag, I did put the link in this chat. I also have a video for it. Check out my videos for dry fire training. Jib Jab, everyone else, love you guys. Thank you all for joining. It was another great day today. And that's all because of you guys. Hope to catch you again next time. Everybody be safe. Thanks for joining. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications. Thanks for watching.